well, where is your partner? What is the sleep environment? Was your baby a preemie? How are your breasts? Like, what do you need? Do they have lick ties? Do they have tongue ties? There's so many complexities out there that's where I help moms. I feel like really fuels mothers. I have a huge uphill trek that I'm fearlessly embarking on because I believe so much. I never want another mom to struggle the way that I did. I had awful postpartum depression. I wasn't making more than a half of an ounce of milk. And I was just spiraling into this black hole. What is happening to my life? Like everything was slipping away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Lauren DeCicco, and I am the host of FeelWell Podcast. And today we have an amazing guest with us. Her name is Michelle Brown, and she is here to help us discuss all things empowerment and optimize our motherhood experiences. So let's get started. Michelle, super excited to meet you. I've heard and learned so much about you, and it's such a crazy opportunity to be able to have this discussion with you as a mother myself, but as a female, and going into that whole realm of re-empowering people and women especially, because I think it's so needed and I think it's going to be so helpful for the world. And so let's talk a little bit about how did you get to where you're at today? You have a really profound background and you've used that to create healing for basically so many other people. So how did that happen for you? And let's talk about that.
Thank you so much for having me on, Dr. Lauren. I am so honored to just sit across from you. Obviously, everyone speaks so highly of you and all of the important work that you're doing. And this podcast is such an important voice. So I'm really excited to get started in this conversation. And, you know, I think our backgrounds and our lineage and our journey is something that in today's society, so many people look at them as victimhood or something is happening to me. And I've really taken the path of life is happening for me. And obviously, Tony Robbins had a huge impact on my life. And I started my life as a 4-pound orphan in the slums of India, in Calcutta. And if you've ever seen the movie Lion or Slumdog Millionaire, I was very similar to those situations. Thankfully, someone saved me out of that situation. They think my mom was around 13.
Okay.
And I got put into one of Mother Teresa's orphanages called the International Mission of Hope. So again, the universe had this incredible plan that's outside of my scope because life was happening for me. Mm-hmm. And ever since, you know, just growing up, knowing that I was unwanted and unloved, instead, I turned that into that helplessness into hope for moms everywhere. And I never want another mom to feel the way my mother may have, alone, isolated, without decisions, without choices. And it's really shaped my life the whole way through. And it really manifested for me when I had my first daughter. And I was 3,000 miles away from my whole family. I was 3,000 miles away from anyone I knew, loved, or trusted. And, you know, the way that they portray birth is like women are just supposed to be superheroes. So I read all the books. I read the Hogs, the Carps. You know, I had all the midwifery classes and all the childbirth classes and all the things, right? And everything looked great. And motherhood hit me like a Mack truck. And so that's really where the journey triggered for me, was what we do, nurturing life. You know, I was adopted, but still someone nurtured my life, and another mother took up that quest and nurtured me as a newborn. Right. And no matter how that looks, what we do as parents, we're superheroes with very little support, unless you're lucky enough to have a village of a parent or a family around you, which I was not. And that's really what triggered turning that helpless feeling again from probably the subconscious nature of being born unloved and unwanted, right, and then becoming a mother myself. Yep. I'm like, okay, light bulb moment. It's time to turn this culture, turn the society on its head and say, we need to work together and recreate this village today.
Right. So, and I think that's the missing link in a lot of everyone's trying to find the tool and the thing to bring it all together for them. And really what it comes down to is nurturing and connection.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that nervous system and what our nervous systems need to have to feel full, that love and the healing power and all of that as well. And I did see in your bio, your vision for your platform that you own, ihelpmoms.com, that you want to take families from chaos to connection.
Yeah.
And I have my own personal experience with my family as a mother, with my 2 small children, of going from basically beyond chaos, crisis, and finding that connection. And as a professional, working with people with like the nervous system, I know connection is pretty much the first step to healing.
Yeah.
And healing everything, healing your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, and your mental. Yeah. It all comes from connection and in safety and love and everything. But when you're in that chaos and that crisis, you can't even access the thought of connection, and you have no idea where to start. Yeah. So how does your platform help bridge that gap for people, and the different things that you've learned, and how have you brought that and taken that and turned that into something that can bridge the gap for people?
Yeah, I love everything you're saying, and just learning more about your intrinsic, innate, and your vernacular of how you're speaking. I'm just so in tune with everything you're saying. And so when you meet people like Dr. Lauren and everyone who's in this room, you feel that we've gone on the journey of healing.
I have chills right now, like
and
with your story and like what has brought out that purpose in you.
Yeah,
I think we have that like very similar.
It's beautiful to serve through that, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that the answer of your question is interesting to me. When I dreamt of I Help Moms, I'm such a maximizer. I'm a learner. I'm an activator. I love growth mindset, and I always have. So for me, when my baby wasn't breastfeeding because I was so stressed out and I couldn't make milk, I got help. When my baby wasn't sleeping because I don't know why, maybe it was my nervous system, maybe it was a very difficult delivery that we had, maybe it was just the scenario of like fight or flight going on, I got help. So in my mentality, I don't understand how people wouldn't ask for help. But as I look around society today, and I think it's interesting you talk about crisis, right? We see moms voraciously on Facebook groups. You're literally asking other people who are struggling for advice. And that makes no sense to me. And especially you being a doctor, I think this is a very interesting conversation. I have found that it's very important to get objective, educated, expert advice from people who are actually specifically trained as sleep consultants, people who are actually certified and trained as sleep consultants, not just another mom's opinion.
Right. And taking some of the emotion out of it too.
Yes. Objectivity, right? I think is so important, although well-meaning. And I never want to bag on the Facebook group. So when I see the comments, I'm like, well, where is your partner? What is the sleep environment? Was your baby a preemie? How are your breasts? Like, what do you need? Do they have lip ties? Do they have tongue ties? There's so many complexities out there that's where I help moms. I feel like really fuels mothers to get them to certified experts that can specifically customize and personalize exactly what they need for their body and for their baby. So I have a huge uphill trek that I'm fearlessly embarking on because I believe so much. I never want another mom to struggle the way that I did. I had awful postpartum depression. I wasn't making more than a half of an ounce of milk. And I was just spiraling into this black hole. And as you can see, I'm a very upbeat, very positive person. I was like, what is happening to my life? Like everything was slipping away.
Even if we have these amazing partners supporting us.
Of course.
They're not in the same position.
No. And we were just starting our first business.
Like, and I think a lot of people just don't have access to really finding the right, tools to everything.
And so that's where I Help Moms comes into play, is that I would love to normalize that every mother and parent is a maximizer and a learner and like one solution.
It's okay with asking for help.
Exactly. So in my heart, I truly believe I'm changing the world one family at a time by showing them, by getting that 30 minutes of help, by asking an expert for support. Your whole life can change. Your generations of your family can change because you've taken the steps to get the support you need from an expert. But the truth that I find is it's the mothers in crisis. It's the mothers who are like, I really want to breastfeed, but this is not what I thought it would be. Or they're calling us like myself, like I am drowning in postpartum depression. I can't tell anyone out there because I want to put a smile on my face and post my perfect
we have
baby.
To keep it all together.
Right. And, I'm terribly sleep deprived and I'm losing my relationship because of sleep. Those are the moms that are actually coming to I Help Moms, which is so amazing. And our experts are specifically trained to handle that crisis mode. But my bigger dream is that we can normalize, be
Don't
strong,
even get
ask
to
for
the
support.
crisis. And that's what I've learned in my family's crisis is now it's about doing all the things to make sure that we don't ever get to that crisis again. Yeah. It's waiting for the crisis is almost, you've already suffered for too long. The suffering started way before the crisis. So, and you know, what starts to happen with that quote unquote connection that you're building is really more than just having that, taking the pressure off of the other things that you're not a professional in, right? Like I'm not a professional breastfeeder. I'm not a blah, 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 blah. And I don't know the answers to why that's not happening. But you just allow that pressure to be relieved off that person and they can just sit in there building that connection with that baby. And how important that is at an early age, developmentally, to have that attachment and that healthy attachment and connection sets that child up for such a lifelong foundation. Journey. So you're not just helping moms alleviate stress. You are helping families completely heal. And some of them are coming from generations of that, right? So you're not just healing that generation. You're healing all sorts back. 7 generations back. When you heal your current generation, you heal 7 generations back and 7 generations forward.
I love what you're talking about. I love what you're talking about.
And it all starts with connection. So we need to really talk about how do we allow mothers and just people in general to be in a place where they feel safe enough to build those connections. So,
and sometimes it's helping them understand. Just like if you go to therapy and you're like, I'm afraid to go to therapy, I'm scared to spend this money, or like, what if I get stereotyped, or whatever it is out there. But I know, speaking for myself, having done therapy, the tools and strategies that I have gained and come out better on the other side, stronger on the other side, more wise on the other side, and able to self-regulate and have higher emotional intelligence is so worth that hour session. That's really what I want to help these parents understand. Because if you think about it, if I was on a Facebook group with you or any mother, I'm like, oh, I'm having a lot of trouble sleeping. And the mom's like, oh, just try this swaddle or try this one or try. Like there's a million different pieces of advice out there. So then if you're talking about dysregulation and a disconnected nervous system, right, you're just perpetuating that. Or if you think about, okay, I'm going to talk to Jamie, Coach Jamie, who's a certified pediatric sleep expert. I'm going to do a 30-minute call with her. I'm going to get specific sleep help from my sleep environment, from my specific baby's needs at their specific development in their age, whether they were preemie or full term or whatever the birth experience was, whatever the home environment. Is there an older sibling? Is there a younger sibling? Is something else going on, right? That's why you're an expert. That's why there's certified experts out there. Now you're able to connect to self because you have hope, you have a plan, you have a strategy, you can take a breath so your own nervous system is regulating and you have a clear plan in place for that little baby that we love so much, and they are going to feel that regulation. So we're not stuck in this constant cycle of getting advice from people who are well-meaning but not actually helping us. So there's such a deeper connection that we bring out at Help Moms is that we truly want that mom to get a solution and move forward in joy and peace and connection with self and family. And we believe if we can do that on repeat, we will change the world one household at a time.
Because it really starts from those young ages there. So what is your go-to way of regulating your nervous system?
Well, I happen to be married to an amazing chiropractor.
Yes. And that is something that I know about your chiropractic facility, Friends and Family, Spinal Care, right?
Yes.
You guys do, he is specialized in NUCA chiropractic, which is very, I actually have clients that go to your facility. Amazing. So we share some similar clients.
I love that.
And they all tell me about how much better they feel in their nervous system, because the whole premise of the NUCA is really to help realign the nervous system, right?
Yeah. Very gently, no twisting, cracking, or popping. And I think it's so funny if I tell you the truth. I was a Division I cheerleader and I was a flyer, and I got tossed over the top of a 3-high pyramid onto my neck, and I broke both my elbows. And all they did was give me Oxy and Vicodin.
Oh, perfect.
So, I was just 21, and no one bothered to tell me about physical therapy. No one bothered telling me about chiropractic. No one bothered telling me about acupuncture. No one bothered to tell me anything that might help ease not just my pain, but like the trauma that I had just undertaken by being tossed over a pyramid and landing on my head. And I think about if someone had been brave enough or someone had been connected to the amazing network of healthcare professionals that you and I are connected with, how different my life would be. I spent years with my neck subluxated, cracking it every which way I could. They said I would never have children. I developed cysts on my ovaries. I was a walking nightmare. Like my dysregulation was through the roof.
Right. And so now you're getting sick from it.
Oh my gosh. I think about
something that started as an injury now is manifesting in you as an illness.
I mean, I had people pulling me out of bed because I was so on oxy because I was in so much pain. Just like yanking me out of bed, trying to get me out. And then you just learn to live with the pain after a while, right? And I want to go back and apologize to my old employers. I'm like, I'm so sorry I was in a fog. I'm so sorry I wasn't as kind and mindful as I could be because I was trapped in a shell of a body where my brain and my body weren't communicating because nobody bothered to tell me about chiropractic. Nobody bothered to tell me about physical therapy that could have possibly opened up my nervous system and allowed it to flow subluxation free. Like, why wouldn't someone tell you that when you're living in a state of misery and sickness?
Well, and that's one reason why I've stepped away from really streamlined medicine and getting out of like that really corporate insurance driven medicine is because it's driven by kind of keeping people in the system and really not empowering people to rely on their internal intuition, their self-agency. Everyone kind of knows what's going on with them, right? But we kind of take that away. We detach people from that very rapidly and because we know better, right? We know better and whatever. But we're keeping people very sick when we practice that way.
Agreed.
So and that's what I found in staying in more of the holistic world is you are really trying to reinstate people's self-agency so that they can be in control of their healthcare and their journey. And then they're more accountable too. Right? So if they're not getting better, it's, it was their active choice instead of me determining for them, oh, you're going to do this, this, and this, and not listen to your body. And you don't know better. I know better than you somehow. Right. So I think
wow, Dr. Lauren, I hope there is a great awakening on this human planet.
I think it is because I think people have had enough of just not feeling well and not being treated well and being told it's in their heads or I don't know why you're not better.
Let's just drug you in,
but like I keep you in the system, but yet I don't know why you're not better and they don't have answers and there's no root, like really examining like the root cause for things. There's no exploring the nervous system. If you go to like a general practitioner, they rarely talk about what your nervous system
or allergy. I mean, the list goes on. But you said something even more profound. I think that if more practitioners and healthcare providers can have a mindset like you do of collaboration over self and God complex and selfishness, that's where humanity wins. Like we should be sharing patients. We should be empowering and educating and allowing them to know like, hey, Dr. Lauren does this. Chiropractic does this. They are not the same. They're two distinct professions and expertise. An acupuncturist may help you with this. You may have, the thing that surprises me the most is the mental and emotional stressors and the effect it has on our physical being is being completely ignored, except if you're a holistic practitioner that actually understands that everything is interconnected. I mean, I feel like gut is like the buzzword, but there's so much more to the physical and emotional stressors having a toll on our bodies. And so when practitioners like our office and your office can look at the whole picture of what's best for the patient and truly choose service over self, because there's so much abundance in the world when we get in these minutiae of like money for money.
We don't have to battle each other.
No. And this is like such a beautiful conversation. I really like, and my deepest hope, when you live in a state of mindfulness and abundance and true service mindset, there is so much goodness to go around if we work together versus in our separate little zones. Like that's just going to be a blip on humanity. Whereas our impact of service together is so tremendous. And I'm so glad to be sitting next to you.
Right. And I think something is to be said about the Holistic Business Network because they have done such an amazing job really getting people to collaborate.
Yes.
But I also think that the people that are joining this network, because of the culture that of the network, is everyone's coming in their own, like, beyond their healing journey. So we're all kind of already in our purpose. And we all know that our general purpose is to, like, really collectively help the world and heal the world.
Yes.
So there's, like, really no ego going on there.
You're so right. And everything in life comes from leadership, right? And if we look at the leadership over a holistic business, it is just a collaborative mindset. And I think that's why, you know, we walk into that building on Thursday night, the magic that we will feel all together is just going to be through the roof. Because when you're working in service together, you become unstoppable.
Right. Because there's an event coming up on Thursday at your facility, at your center. So, and that's open to the public too.
It is.
And that's the nice part about this networking group is we don't make it exclusive. It's because we want people to access and learn about all of the holistic, different providers and companies and whatever that are out there. So even if you're somebody that's not in a business, they're like, they can come through and explore and see all of that. So, so there's just, you know, building that connection again has allowed the practitioners to then serve their clientele better. Right. And so for me, what I've found from practicing, going from being in a clinic where we're just like seeing patient after patient and we're not connecting. We're just like treating the insurance, whatever, to shifting to really having one-on-one deep connection, providing safety in my space. Sometimes I see people 2 or 3 times and they've gotten more out of that than they've just gotten out of 10 years. And I'm like, well, what? Why? I used to have to see people for months on end and they wouldn't get better at all. It really is that shift and them trusting you, connecting with you, feeling safe with you, because you know what that does is that it takes you from dysregulated to regulated. And then it shuts off your inflammatory response, your immune response, your pain response. So it creates such a rapid result for people.
I think it's interesting. There's even something deeper to what you're saying there emotionally. And you said the word safe. So when you come into the office, you'll see, like, we made everything wood and like the ocean,
organic.
And when you flow in, it's not like you're sitting in beautiful chairs. Like we're sitting here in this beautiful content studio where you feel comfortable and you feel welcome. And so right from the beginning, you're not stuck in a sterile environment with fluorescent lights and gross chairs that have dirt all over them. It's like you're really in a safe, you feel that safety.
The energy. It's an energy.
It is. And when you're healing, what do you need? You need safety. You need love. You need compassion. You need connection. It's everything you're talking about. So it's just so fascinating to talk about working in the traditional clinic and then where we're going as a holistic business network and as practitioners that really elevate that mindset to, again, service over self. We're just transitioning the whole mindset of where healing stems from and creating those spaces for it. It's so powerful.
And I think, you know, some people get caught up on the expense, right? And it's an investment, right? But so is your health insurance. And so are all those visits that you're going to through your health insurance. That's still your money.
Can I tell you the truth, though? And I don't know now that you're working outside the traditional confines of medicine or just medical system, which I know
I have my opinions.
Touchy to talk about. But we serve everyone because everyone should be aligned if they're in a state of subluxation. Like you want to be in a state of ease and having your brain connected to all facets of your nervous system. It's just extremely important to be unsubluxated. And so it always amazes me. The richest people we know, the people that are on the $15,000 Disney cruises, the people that are out to dinner every single weekend spending, I mean, a dinner for 2 now is $120. It's no longer $50, right? And so I don't know. I don't really think of it as an expense. I think of it as a priority. And you're either going to pay for your health and wellness now and investing in that, or you're going to pay for it later. So I think it's just a perspective. And I think
it's like, a perspective. It's like how you don't want people to wait till they're in a crisis to get there, right? Like, so one of my goals is to get people to understand that it's you can't be so attached to the insurance, right? Like you can't be so attached to looking at the cost, because really ultimately if you go in with these practitioners who are really dedicated to it, overall, you're going to actually be spending a lot less.
Yeah. Over your lifetime, you'll spend a lot less.
So, and I've chosen to step outside the insurance world because I didn't really want to participate in that mindset of treating people for their insurance. Yeah. Because then I'm detached from them and the responsibility to them, and they're detached from their care because their insurance is paying for it. When we are both investing on both sides, then we're really committed to each other. And I have a commitment to you to provide you with certain service and care and level of care. Yes. And, you know, for the people that might not be able to afford it, I find it's important to find ways to help no matter what. So I will, if somebody is in there and wants to get better, I will always find a way to help somebody. Yeah. So I do not use insurance as an excuse or whatever. I've really found that it's helped to optimize the level of care.
I love that. And I hope more practitioners can take that leap of faith that can really zoom out and look at the system as a whole.
It's a problem. There's a huge problem.
There's a lot of money involved in it, right? That's the bottom line. Yeah. So I think when you look at just the care, the time, not running a mill, and really understanding the value of what we're providing. I mean, again, I go back to it. Like, it's just a prioritization of funds. I mean, I see people, we own a gym, and I see people all the time are like, oh, I don't know if I can afford $6 a day. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I just saw you take yet another trip for $1,000. Like, so you can be healthy and work out. I don't really care where you work out, but I think $6 a day is pretty doable. Okay. So it's just a priority thing for me. That's what I see.
So if I'm a mom and I'm looking to get some help, how would I access your platform? What does it look like? What's the process? What do you get access to? Yeah. What are all the details on that?
It has been such a cool journey for me in being a tech founder, first and foremost. I started it because everyone was asking me for my amazing pediatrician. I love my pediatrician so much. They were asking me who I used. My kids all had tongue and lip ties. Like, who did I use? Dr. Sadia was amazing. She's in Boca here. Who do I use for my doula? Amazing Births and Beyond. I love Dr. Vivian so much. I mean, there's just so many resources that help me so much. So I just created like a Craigslist directory. Okay. So that was like the first iteration of I Help Moms. And I want to talk about this because I feel so many times in my own entrepreneurial journey that you look on social media, Sarah Blakely, who I think is like extremely authentic. So I love that she talks about selling copy machines door to door and cutting pantyhose. So I do think she's really authentic. But, you know, I think that these days we just see that pretty veneer, like, wow, they made it overnight. And I always want to be very authentic. Like, this has been a 12-year journey for me. That's very expensive, very time consuming. I mean, the nights that I was breastfeeding and typing over my computer over and over and over with 3 kids, there's just so many instances where like it was heartbreaking and gritty and hard. And so it started a Craigslist directory. And then pretty soon I'm like, oh, wow, this is a lot of work and I'm not making any money. So I need to figure out like what's a better monetization system. And as a tech entrepreneur, I think it's really important that we're honest. Like, we have value. So we should be charging for this value. So I created like where you as Dr. Lauren would pay me $45, $49 a month, and I would be promoting your practice.
Gotcha.
So 2 moms. But then I quickly realized, well, I like this dentist and I love this dentist and I love that dentist. So how do I promote all 3 dentists?
Okay.
That's really hard because I actually really love all these dentists. And I also realized that when I send you a patient, maybe you pay me $49, but over the course of their treatment, you're making, let's just say, $2,000. So again, it was me referring out a ton of business that were repeat clients.
We're looking for an equal exchange of energy here.
Okay,
right?
so that's exactly it. So I'm like, okay, I got to get smarter. I got to keep reiterating. So I don't know if you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, but I got to hear him speak at a conference, and he said, there's going to be a day where your big idea matches where technology is going and you will explode. And so I remember in 2018, I have some very good friends that are amazing mental health therapists. They're like, I would never do online therapy. That's just so wrong, Michelle. Right. And I'm like, well, I think it's a really important idea because I could not get up out of a chair after having my kid and having all those stitches. So yeah, I needed online help. So that's where I Help Moms blossom was at 2018 when I'm like, wait a minute, I could not get up after having my baby. And I couldn't afford $250 for mental health therapy with postpartum. I couldn't afford $350 for a breastfeeding help. And I definitely could not afford an $800 sleep package, let alone I was struggling in this black hole of depression. I'm like, I don't even know. So I said, what if you could get on a phone and get an expert at $1 a minute? So that it was affordable for everybody. And it was at my fingertips where I could not get up because I had so many stitches. And I thought to myself, I'm like, that is a good idea. No matter what all the therapists told me that it would never work, no matter all the breastfeeding consultants. They're like, well, you have to be there in person. I'm like, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure my nipple just hurt because it was a new baby and I just needed someone to tell me, try this position. You can do this. Like I literally just needed that. Like you got this.
Oh, I mean, that is enough. That pain is enough to be like, nope, I'm done. But if you had the right person, it could really help you.
Like Kelly is one of our amazing breastfeeding consultants. She is incredible with helping people online Zoom. She gives you a free nipple ruler and she helps like fit your flanges. Like she's amazing online. So
I wish I had that when
I was doing
that. I did not have access to that stuff. And I think I really allowed myself to give up on some things that I had really wanted to stay connected to when I was a mom. And it was like battling the anxiety of like, not being able to do it properly, but then also like being mad at myself for giving up on stuff, right?
Yes, so I totally felt all those emotions. So what if we can get an expert that's $1 a minute on your phone, wherever you are in the world, who is a certified expert in what you do and will tell you the solution to your exact problem to give you that better night's sleep this night, or maybe help your nipple hurt less. And then you follow up in a few days with them at $1 a minute online at your convenience. How does that change the world? How does that change how a mother interacts with herself? How does that change with mom guilt? How does that look with decreasing the mental load that we're taking on? How does that increase a mom's ability to breathe for a minute, bond with their baby instead of being like, my nipple really hurts. I don't know what to do. And I don't think I'm doing this right. Am I doing this right? Like, oh my gosh, the playlist in a mom's head. Like, I just hope that I Help Moms certified professional can just take a load off their back for a minute. That's my dream.
And I think that's all that the moms are looking for.
Yeah.
So this was an amazing conversation. Like very insightful. I mean, I had so many different questions and topics, but I just learned so much from you. And I think that we have a very similar understanding of like what that like true healing looks like and being aligned with your purpose. Yeah. And then helping other people through that backstory, all those lessons that you got, through your lifetime. And so, I mean,
I'm curious, what makes you unafraid to heal? Because I think that's one of those things that I see in a lot of moms is that they're afraid to take that step in the journey of healing so that they can actually attain the life that they dream of, but they stay stuck in a cycle of struggle.
What makes you unafraid? I think, like for me personally, was not being able to handle the suffering anymore. You just get to a point where the suffering is too much and there's no other choice. But and then you start seeing it in your children too, right? And you decide, is this what it's going to be, or am I going to do different? So,
and then what do you think it will take to normalize women being more proactive instead of reactive?
To not get to that point. I think it's going to take people like the leaders, the providers out there really leading by example and showing what the good, bad, and ugly side of healing really looks like. Yeah. And that's the whole point of what we're doing with this podcast is we're really going to kind of redefine what wellness in healing looks like for people. That it's not just like drinking certain water and like doing certain things. It's really looking deep inside and creating and reintegrating that whole being of yourself.
Oh, that's so profound. And it's so vital to living your full existence of humanity.
So, and I think that's what's going to help save the world, right?
Yeah. This
it's
conversation.
Really that deep healing of everybody, right?
And normalizing that. I love what you're saying.
Normalizing it. Yes. Yes. Those ugly stories that you had in your past is what led you to decide to get to where you're at today, right? So.
And authenticity.
So it was amazing having you.
Oh my gosh.
I hope you come back. There's a lot more to talk about, I feel like, here. So it was so awesome.
Thank you, Dr. Lauren.
Thank you so much.
It's an honor to sit next to you, and I can't wait to continue our journey. And
you too.
Come join us at Holistic Business Network.
I know. I hope I can make it.
Me too. Fingers crossed. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes.